Fantasy Flight Games, the makers of the X-Wing miniature game, amongst a lot of other Star Wars tabletop titles, have a glut of options available to them thanks to all of the new content in the Star Wars universe coming out of Star Wars Celebration, and I think it's time we had a look at that and speculated on what might be coming to our favourite game. Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. How you guys all doing? Let's do a bit of speculating and talk about some of these new ships that we saw out of the various trailers and stuff that came out of Star Wars Celebrations. And first of all, I apologise if I missed anything. There were quite a few trailers to come out of Star Wars Celebration, but I think I've hit the main ones here. And like I always do with my videos, yes, I'm going to save the most hype thing for last, and oh boy am I hype about this ship that I'm going to talk about last. But first of all, I want to talk about the actual trailer for Episode 9, because there's a couple of ships in there that I think are absolutely worth having a conversation about. Well, one more than the other. The one that's not so interesting is this image of this ship here, which kind of looks like an A-Wing, I guess. I don't know. We'll get more information about this, but yes, we might have a new sort of A-Wing thing on a faction, who knows. Look, I'd be remiss not to mention it because it was a ship that turned up in the trailer. Look, there's going to be plenty more in the movie, I'm sure. But what I really want to talk about is this ship here that Rey decides to, do a massive flip over. And yes, the trailer seems to indicate that it would be Kylo flying this. It is almost identical to Kylo's TIE Silencer, except it's more akin to the shape of a TIE Interceptor with like the body of an SF TIE. And this poses a very, very interesting challenge for FFG, because we already have the TIE Silencer on the First Order, and we already have this in canon as well. Another ship that is probably going to make its way onto the First Order faction at some point, but is also, in design, very similar to the TIE Silencer. Indeed, the TIE Silencer is very much what we consider the First Order version of the TIE Interceptor. It's the same thing, even has the same baked-in ability, but it has more shields, better dial, blah blah blah, all the stuff we expect of First Order ships. And now we have three TIE Interceptor sort of like ships on the First Order, and that's very, very difficult. One of the really good things about X-Wing 2nd Edition is the fact that, yes, we can have very similar designs between factions. Because the First Order and the Empire are now on separate factions, they can have very similar things. They can have TIE FOs and TIE Fighters and have lots of pilots on both, and it doesn't matter because they're on different factions. We can have the RZ-1 A-Wing on the Rebellion and the RZ-2 A-Wing on the Resistance. And yes, those are almost entirely the same, but just slightly different. And that design is not problematic because they exist on separate factions. But this is three ships that are all very, very similar to each other, and that is very problematic because they all have to be on the same faction. They are all canonically and categorically on the First Order. There's no way to get around that. And what FFG have to do to introduce all of these onto the same faction without having them too close in design and therefore confusing? It's an important thing when we look at game design, that stuff. Yes, look, for people like me and for people like you who play a lot of X-Wing, you might say, well, it doesn't really matter, Nick, if we have ships that are too close in design. We can have other ships that also have like the auto thrusters baked in ability and a similar dial to a TIE Interceptor. But I actually argue that that is a problematic thing to do, because when we have ships that are very, very close in design, it actually causes confusion because we forget the differences, and that comes up in the middle of gameplay. It's problematic for newer players. And look, honestly, it's the kind of thing I forget quite easily. So I get the impression it's the kind of thing FFG want to avoid. It's probably like the sole reason we never got the RZ-2 A-Wing in First Edition, because it would have had that same problem with the existing A-Wing. If they just made it slightly different, that would have caused confusion. And I look at these ships and I think to myself, that's something that FFG really have to pay attention to. There is the argument that yes, this is just Kylo Ren's TIE Silencer that's been modified. Look, maybe the guys that cut together the trailer took some creative license, and this is actually just Kylo Ren's TIE Silencer with a different cockpit, and just the shape of it will change slightly in the film. Yes, we've seen this in Star Wars trailers before. This may arguably not be exactly what this ship is going to look like when the film's actually released. And that actually offers an interesting design choice. We could change the original tire silencer with the configuration to create this ship. That would get around the issue of having ships that are very similar. Because when you use configurations to delineate between two different kinds of ships, like the Delta Aether Sprite on the Jedi Starfighter as opposed to the Delta 7B, you have those slight differences, yes, but they are clearly illustrated on the upgrade card, and that actually makes the issue of them being similar less problematic. It makes it more clear and more sticky. When I say sticky, I mean easy to pick up. You read a card and you get it like that, and you just play with it and you don't have any confusion. And that might just be what happens with the tire silencer here. I've already spoken about this before in upgrading the Kiraz fighter into VAC size. I think it's a very clean design. It's a very well implemented thing in the second edition, adding in these configurations, and it's something that we could be looking at here. A bit hard to say at this point, but yes, we will see. I guess we'll have to wait for the movie to come out to get a full understanding of what this ship can do. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something I've actually mentioned in a previous video. The video I put out yesterday on Jedi Fallen Order, the new game from Respawn and EA, is this ship here. And the thing is, we don't actually know anything about this. It might just literally be some kind of a freighter that can jump to hyperspace that ends up being just like a plot device that gets our hero Cal Kestis from planet to planet. But the reason I'm interested in this more than anything else is actually the really strong characterization of Cal Kestis and all of his mates, his droid BD-1, all that kind of stuff. And I love the way FFG have implemented characters in the form of crew cards, gunner cards, pilot cards, whatever, in X-Wing. And I think it would be a shame for a really heavy narrative-driven game to come along and for it not to have some kind of love in X-Wing. Indeed, this poses another kind of challenge for FFG because, well, we don't know what time period these characters are from. Cal was a Jedi Padawan, so he fought alongside the Republic, but during the events of Jedi Fallen Order, the Republic do not exist. It is also arguable, and we'll see what happens when we get more information about the game, that the Rebellion don't exist either. And I don't know how I feel about putting a Jedi on the Scum faction, and that leaves almost no options. He's definitely not on the Empire faction. So who knows? I mean, maybe yes, he'll do more bounty hunterish things as the game progresses, but it doesn't really feel like that. It seems like he's very interested in pursuing the way of the Jedi. It definitely does not feel like something that belongs on the Scum faction. But look, apart from all that, apart from all the challenges of deciding how to get him on in terms of faction, I just really like the look of this game in terms of its character content. And I would really love to see this represented in X-Wing, especially BD-1. This guy just looks so cool, and I just want to see him in the game somehow. Hopefully, towards the release of Jedi Fallen Order, we get a bit of information on this ship. But until then, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, and now the thing I am so hyped for. In case you guys missed the panel on The Mandalorian, please feel free to stop the video right now, go over to the Star Wars channel on YouTube and watch it. Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and a few of the actors had a panel where they spoke about The Mandalorian. They showed off a trailer, which unfortunately is not available on the live stream as of yet. I'll talk more about that when that's revealed. But what we did have revealed was footage of the main character's ship, the ship that belongs to The Mandalorian, the Razor Crest, a gunship. And I am really speechless when I look at this, because this is something I really love about Star Wars. It's a real modeled ship. It's kit bashed, or at least designed to look like it is kit bashed. They actually showed off some footage of it being shot with the different lighting angles and how they were going to splice those footage together to comp it. It's all in-camera effects. JJ, please, in-camera effects in Episode 9. I can't stress enough how much this just adds to the Star Wars universe. It was created by a team of people that clearly love Star Wars a lot. And if you take a look at this ship is entirely unique, but oh wow, is it entirely Star Wars. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind the Scum faction will see this as soon as FFG are able to implement it. Now, in the past, FFG have got advance notice about ships that were going to enter into canon. In the case of the Fang Fighter, they were actually able to work with Dave Filoni's team, get information on that so they could design it ahead of time, so it didn't come out too much later after it actually appeared in Rebels. They always joke about the fact that they were never told that the wings spin, and that's why they had to update it for 2nd edition. So it is possible that they have spoken to Jon Favreau and others about the Razor Crest and the possibility of getting it into the game of X-Wing, hopefully sooner rather than later. And the frustrating thing is, right now, yes, they've got to work on filling out Factions 6 and 7. They've got to work on releasing everything from 1st edition, and look, that's going to take up time. We have had a couple of new releases in the Scum faction in 2nd edition, which does make this hopeful, although Empire and Rebel may be feeling a bit left out, and maybe they need a bit more love in the meantime. I look at this ship and I'm absolutely in love. I cannot wait to play with this. I cannot wait to see it in The Mandalorian, apart from anything else. Have you guys seen any of this stuff from the panel? Please, just seriously, go now. Watch it. It looks friggin' awesome. I'm a huge fan of Firefly. I get a lot of those vibes from not only the attitude of the actors and the people making it, but what little we've seen of it so far. It just looks really awesome, and yeah, I look at this ship and I am just so hyped. I cannot understate that enough. But look, I'll stop this video now because I don't actually have anything more to say to it apart from look at this, look how awesome it is, can't wait to play with it. It's going to be great. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching. As we get more developments on these new ships entering into the Star Wars canon, I will make content on it and talk about it. And shout at FFG to make these ASAP because I want to see these things on the table. I'm so hyped to talk about all this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting my Patreon. Thank you so much to all of my existing patrons. If you want to jump on the Patreon Discord and chat about all this stuff, which we are just all so hyped for, all the links for that are down in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next video.